Poor human boy living in the sewers helped a limping alien girl. What happened the next day? The sewer tunnels beneath Elysium were a labyrinth of desperation and survival. Ryan knew every pipe, every junction, every dripping valve like they were extensions of his own skinny limbs. At 12 years old, he'd called this underworld home for nearly half his life, ever since the purge had swept through the human quarter, leaving him parentless and alone. He crouched in the shadows of a massive drainage pipe, his torn shirt doing little against the perpetual chill. Above, the gleaming alien metropolis of Elysium continued its endless celebration of wealth and technological supremacy, oblivious to the human boy scavenging below. 3 more hours till the kitchen scraps drop, Ryan muttered to himself, wiping dirt from his face with an equally dirty hand. His bright blue eyes, startlingly vivid against his grime-streaked skin, scanned the tunnel ahead. The service bots would soon make their rounds and he needed to be invisible. That's when he heard it, a soft whimper echoing through the tunnel, distinctly different from the usual drips and mechanical hums. Ryan froze, his survival instincts screaming danger. Strange sounds meant strange things, and strange things were rarely good in the sewers. But curiosity had always been Ryan's weakness. He crept forward, his bare feet silent against the damp concrete. The sound came again. Definitely organic, definitely in pain. At the edge of a large drainage junction, he saw her, a small alien girl with light silvery hair that seemed to catch what little light existed in the tunnels. Her skin was a soft blue, almost luminescent in the darkness. She wore the tattered remains of what had clearly been an expensive dress, now torn and soiled. Most striking were her eyes, deep ocean blue, wide with fear and pain as she balanced precariously on a thin aluminum crutch. She was Elysian, one of the ruling class. What was she doing down here? The alien girl spotted him and flinched back, nearly losing her balance. "Stay away," she whispered, her voice musical, even in fear. Ryan held up his hands. "Don't be scared," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." He took a careful step forward. "You're hurt?" "They'll find me," she said, glancing nervously over her shoulder. "They're coming." "Who's coming?" Before she could answer, the distant sound of boots splashing through water echoed down the tunnel. The girl's eyes widened in terror. "Please," she begged, "help me." Ryan hesitated only a moment. Helping an Elysian could get him killed, but leaving a frightened, injured child, even an alien one, to whatever fate pursued her, was something he couldn't do. "This way," he said, moving toward her. "Can you walk?" She tried to take a step and nearly collapsed. Without thinking, Ryan slipped his arm around her waist, supporting her weight. She was surprisingly light, her body temperature several degrees cooler than his. "What's your name?" he asked as they moved deeper into the tunnels. "Nyla," she whispered. "Nyla Valen." Ryan's heart nearly stopped. Valen, as in the Valen Corporation that controlled nearly half of Elysium's resources? The same corporation whose security forces regularly cleaned the sewers of human infestations? "I'm Ryan," he said, pushing aside his shock. "Just Ryan." The sound of pursuit grew louder. Ryan guided them through a narrow maintenance shaft that few knew existed. Nyla's breathing was labored, her limping growing worse. "Almost there," Ryan encouraged, though he had no destination in mind beyond a way. They emerged into a small chamber Ryan had converted into a living space. A collection of scavenged blankets formed a nest in one corner. Canned food and water bottles were carefully arranged on a makeshift shelf. A few treasures, a working flashlight, a tattered book, a small knife, completed his worldly possessions. "We can rest here," Ryan said, helping Nyla sit on his blanket nest. "They won't find us." "Not if they don't know where to look." Ryan examined her injured leg. "What happened?" "I fell when I was running away." Nyla winced as Ryan gently touched her ankle. "My father, there was an argument. I just wanted to get away for a while. I found an access door and..." She looked around. "I didn't know humans lived down here." "Most don't know we exist," Ryan said, reaching for a water bottle. "Here, drink." Nyla took the bottle with trembling hands. "Thank you." As she drank, Ryan studied her. He'd seen Elysians before, of course. On screens, through grates, occasionally in person during his rare ventures to the surface. But never this close. Never one who spoke to him like a person. "Why were those men chasing you?" Ryan asked. Nyla lowered the water bottle. "They work for my father. He doesn't like it when I disobey." Something in her tone made Ryan's chest tighten. Maybe the differences between their worlds weren't as vast as he'd thought. "You can stay here until morning," Ryan offered. "Then I'll help you find a way back." Nyla's eyes widened. "You would do that?" "Even though I'm—" She gestured to her blue skin. Ryan shrugged. "You're just a kid. Like me." For the first time, Nyla smiled, a small, hesitant thing that transformed her face. I've never met a human before. Father says you're all dangerous." "Some are," Ryan admitted. "Some aren't. Just like your people, I guess." They talked through the night, huddled together for warmth in the freezing tunnels. Ryan told her about life in the sewers, about scavenging and hiding and surviving. Nyla spoke of Elysium's floating gardens and endless parties, of tutors and expectations and loneliness. By morning, the sounds of pursuit had faded. Ryan led Nyla to a service exit near the city's central district. "They'll find you here," he said. "You'll be safe." Nyla turned to him, her ocean eyes serious. "I won't forget this, Ryan. I won't forget you." Ryan smiled sadly. "You will, but that's okay." As he slipped back into the shadows, watching as Elysian security personnel rushed to the small blue girl, waving frantically at the exit, Ryan knew she would return to her world of light and privilege, while he retreated to his darkness. What he didn't know was how wrong he was about being forgotten. 15 years had transformed Ryan from a scrawny sewer rat into a man who commanded attention. At 27, his once thin frame had filled out with hard-earned muscle, his hands calloused from years of mechanical work. The bright blue eyes remained, though they now carried a wariness that came from climbing Elysium's brutal social ladder. "Torquey wrench," Ryan muttered, extending his hand without looking up from the engine compartment of the luxury hover car. His assistant, Maddox, another human who'd escaped the sewers, slapped the tool into his palm. "You know who this belongs to, right?" Maddox whispered, glancing nervously at the gleaming vehicle. Ryan grunted. "Don't care. Credits are credits. It's a Valen Corp executive shuttle. The Valens, man, they own half the damn city." Ryan's hand stilled for just a moment. Valen, a name he hadn't allowed himself to think about in years. A flash of silver hair and ocean blue eyes crossed his memory before he shoved it aside. "Like I said," Ryan replied, tightening a bolt with more force than necessary. "Credits are credits." The repair shop Ryan had built in Elysium's mid-levels catered to wealthy aliens who didn't want to wait for official service centers. Humans weren't supposed to touch Elysian technology, but Ryan had a reputation for fixing the unfixable. It had taken years of risk, bribes, and occasionally breaking kneecaps, but Ryan's repairs was now the worst-kept secret among Elysium's elite. "Clients here," Maddox hissed suddenly. Ryan didn't look up. "Tell them 10 more minutes." "I don't mind waiting." The voice, musical, feminine, with a cool timbre that sent an unexpected shiver down Ryan's spine, made him freeze. Slowly, he extracted himself from the engine compartment and turned. She stood in the doorway, silver hair cascading over shoulders draped in a shimmering blue dress that matched her skin tone perfectly. Taller now with curves that the fabric did little to conceal, but those eyes, those deep ocean eyes, were unmistakable. "Nyla Valen," Ryan said, his voice rougher than intended. A smile curved her blue lips. "You remember me? Hard to forget the daughter of the man who tried to have me killed 3 times. He wiped his hands on a rag, leaving black smudges on the cloth. "Though I doubt you remember me. Ryan, just Ryan," her smile widened. "The human boy who saved my life in the sewers." Maddox's eyes widened comically, darting between them. Ryan shot him a look, and his assistant scurried away, muttering about inventory. "Your shuttle's almost fixed," Ryan said, turning back to the engine. "Fuel regulator was shot. Replaced it with a human-made one. Works better, lasts longer." "I didn't come for the shuttle," Neela said, stepping closer. "I sent it here because I knew this shop belonged to you." Ryan's hand stilled again. "How?" "I've been looking for you for years. She moved closer still, close enough that he could smell her, like winter air and something alien and intoxicating. After that night, I couldn't stop thinking about the brave human boy who helped me when he had every reason not to. Ryan straightened, suddenly aware of how close they stood, of the engine grease on his skin contrasting with her perfection. That was a long time ago. We were kids. And now, we're not. Her eyes traveled over him, lingering on the muscles visible beneath his thin work shirt. You've changed. So have you, he replied, unable to keep his own gaze from appreciating how she'd grown. Still limping? Neela laughed, the sound like glass chimes. No. Father had the best doctors fix that. Couldn't have an imperfect heir, after all. Heir? So the rumors are true. Daddy's grooming you to take over. He's trying. Something flashed in her eyes, determination, rebellion, the same spirit he'd glimpsed all those years ago. I have my own plans. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Which include tracking down sewer rats? Which include finding the only person who ever saw me as just Nyla, not a Valen. She reached out, her cool fingers brushing his forearm, leaving goosebumps in their wake. Have dinner with me. Ryan barked a laugh. Right, I'll just walk into an Elysian restaurant, shall I? See how long before security drags me out. My private residence, she countered. Tonight? The invitation hung between them, loaded with implications. Ryan studied her face, searching for the trap, for the punchline to this cosmic joke. A Valen heir and a human mechanic? It was absurd. And yet the way she looked at him, like she was seeing through the grime and the hardness to something underneath, made his chest tighten in a way it hadn't in years. Why now, he asked, after 15 years? Because now I have the power to do something about it. Nyla stepped even closer, her cool breath fanning across his face. About us. There is no us, Ryan said, but he didn't step back. There's you, Elysian royalty practically, and there's me, the human who fixes your toys when they break. Is that what you think? Her fingers trailed up his arm, leaving fire in their wake. That night in the sewers, you showed me more humanity than I'd ever seen in my own people. You were kind when you had every reason to be cruel. Ryan's pulse quickened. This close, he could see flecks of silver in her ocean eyes, could feel the cool radiance of her skin. Dangerous game you're playing, he murmured. I'm not playing. Her lips parted slightly. 7 o'clock, the Valen penthouse in the Celestial Tower. Private elevator access code is 7729. She turned to leave, the movement sending her silver hair cascading across her back. At the door, she paused, glancing over her shoulder with a smile that promised things Ryan had never allowed himself to want. Don't be late. And don't worry about dressing up. I prefer you exactly as you are. As the door closed behind her, Ryan released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. Maddox peeked out from behind a shelf. Holy shit, his assistant whispered. Did Nyla Valen just invite you to her penthouse? Ryan turned back to the engine, trying to ignore the heat coursing through his veins. Finish this up. I've got somewhere to be tonight. The Celestial Tower pierced Elysium's skyline like a silver needle threading through clouds. Ryan approached it on foot, having deliberately left his work clothes on, partly out of defiance, partly because Nyla had said she preferred him that way. The tower's security drones hovered nearby, their sensors no doubt registering his human DNA and flagging him as an anomaly. At the private elevator, he punched in the code, 7729. The doors slid open silently, revealing a glass capsule that would carry him up to a world he'd only glimpsed from below. Identity confirmed. Welcome, guest of Nyla Valen, a disembodied voice announced as the elevator began its ascent. Ryan watched the city fall away beneath his feet. From this height, even the mid-level districts where his shop stood looked shabby compared to the gleaming upper reaches of Elysium. The higher the elevator climbed, the more his stomach knotted, not from the altitude, but from the absurdity of what he was doing. The doors opened directly into Nyla's penthouse, a sprawling space of curved glass and floating platforms that seemed to merge with the night sky. The entire city sparkled below, a carpet of light stretching to the horizon. You came. Nyla's voice came from behind him. Ryan turned to find her standing in a doorway, wearing a simple white dress that contrasted beautifully with her blue skin. Her silver hair was loose around her shoulders, and she held 2 glasses of something that glowed faintly amber. "I was curious," Ryan admitted, accepting the offered drink. "Not every day an Elysian elite invites a human to dinner." "I'm not just any Elysian." Nyla moved to a low couch, gesturing for him to join her. "And you're not just any human." Ryan sat, maintaining a careful distance between them. "So what's this about? Nostalgia? Slumming it with the humans for a thrill?" "I've spent 15 years thinking about you," Nyla said, her directness catching him off guard. "About what you did for me. About what it meant. I was a kid. You were hurt. It wasn't complicated. It was to me." She leaned closer. "In my world, no one does anything without expecting something in return. But you helped me when it could only bring you trouble." Ryan sipped his drink, some exotic Elysian liquor that burned pleasantly. "So you tracked me down to say thank you? Could have sent a fruit basket." Nyla laughed, the sound making something warm unfurl in Ryan's chest. "I tracked you down because I'm leaving Elysium, and I want you to come with me." Ryan nearly choked on his drink. "What?" "I've purchased a ship, a small Explorer-class vessel, and I'm leaving in 3 days." Her eyes gleamed with excitement. "I want to see what's beyond Elysium, beyond the corporate territories. And I need a mechanic who can keep the ship running." "You're serious," Ryan said, studying her face. "You're walking away from everything, your inheritance, your family's empire, to become what? A space explorer." "I'm walking away from a cage, no matter how gilded." Nyla set down her glass. "My father sees me as an asset, not a daughter. The corporation sees me as a figurehead. I've spent my life being what everyone else needed me to be." "And what do you want to be?" "Free." The word hung between them, heavy with meaning. "Like you." Ryan barked a laugh. "I'm not free. I live in a society that barely tolerates my existence. I fought for every scrap I have." "Exactly." Nyla moved closer, eliminating the distance he'd carefully maintained. "You've built your life on your own terms. That's what I want." Her proximity was intoxicating. The cool radiance of her skin, the subtle scent of her, like frost and starlight, made his pulse quicken. "And what makes you think I'd drop everything to follow you into space?" he asked, his voice lower than intended. Nyla's hand found his, her cool fingers intertwining with his warm ones. "Because I see how you look at me. The same way I've been looking at you for 15 years in my dreams." The air between them seemed to crackle with electricity. Ryan was acutely aware of every point where their bodies touched, of the rise and fall of her chest, of the parting of her blue lips. "This is insane," he murmured, even as he leaned closer. "Is it?" Her free hand came up to trace the line of his jaw. "Or is it the only thing that makes sense?" Their lips met, and the world fell away. Her mouth was cool against his, but quickly warmed as the kiss deepened. Ryan's hands found her waist, pulling her closer as 15 years of impossible fantasy collided with reality. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Nyla's eyes had darkened to a stormy blue. "Stay with me tonight," she whispered against his lips. Words failed him. Instead, he answered by kissing her again, more urgently this time. They moved together toward her bedroom, a trail of discarded clothing marking their path. What followed was a discovery of differences and similarities. Her cool blue skin warming under his touch, the silver patterns that appeared on her body when she was aroused, the way she gasped his name in that musical voice. Their bodies found a rhythm together, human warmth meeting Elysian grace in a dance as old as time, yet entirely new between their species. Afterward, they lay tangled together, her silver hair spread across his chest, his arm curved protectively around her shoulders. "Come with me," Nyla murmured against his skin. "We could see worlds no Elysian or human has ever seen." Ryan stroked her hair, marveling at how right this felt despite everything that should have made it impossible. "Your father would hunt us down. Let him try." She propped herself up to look at him, her expression fierce. "I'm not asking you to be my mechanic, Ryan. I'm asking you to be my partner. In every way." Before Ryan could respond, a harsh alarm blared through the penthouse. Nyla sat up sharply, her eyes wide. "Security breach," she said, reaching for a panel beside the bed. "Someone's overriding the elevator protocols." The screen showed 6 armed Valen security officers ascending in the elevator. "Your father?" Ryan asked, already pulling on his clothes. "Worse. That's Jareth Krell. My father's head of security." Nyla scrambled into her dress. "He must have been monitoring the penthouse. If he finds you here—" "I'm dead," Ryan finished grimly. "And you're probably not much better off." Neela grabbed his hand, pulling him toward a hidden door at the back of the bedroom. "There's a service elevator. It won't take us to the ground floor, but it'll get us to the maintenance level." "And then what?" She met his eyes, a smile curving her lips despite the danger. "Then we go where you know best. Down." As the main elevator chimed its arrival and heavy footsteps entered the penthouse, Ryan and Nyla slipped into the darkness of the service shaft, their futures now irrevocably intertwined. The service elevator deposited them on the 47th floor, a maintenance level filled with humming machinery and blinking status lights. Ryan pulled Nyla into the shadows as a pair of maintenance drones floated past. "We need to get to my shop," Ryan whispered, peering around a corner. "I've got supplies, emergency credits, and contacts who can help us." "They'll be watching it," Nyla replied, her silver hair tucked hastily into the collar of her dress to make her less recognizable. "Krell is thorough. We need to see for ourselves. If they've got Maddox—" Ryan's jaw tightened. "I won't leave him behind." They navigated through service corridors and emergency stairwells, descending toward the mid-levels. Ryan moved with practiced stealth, his years in the sewers evident in every silent step. Nyla followed his lead, surprisingly agile despite her privileged upbringing. "How do you know these passages so well?" she asked as they paused on a landing. Ryan's mouth quirked. "You think I only serviced legitimate clients? Half my business came from people who didn't want to be seen visiting a human mechanic." When they reached the mid-levels, Ryan led them through back alleys and narrow passages between buildings. The further they descended, the more humans they saw. Service workers, laborers, the invisible workforce that kept Elysium functioning. From a rooftop across the street, they observed Ryan's shop. Valen security forces had established a perimeter, their sleek black uniforms and pulse rifles unmistakable even from a distance. "Damn it!" Ryan muttered, spotting Maddox being led out in restraints. "They got him." Nyla placed a hand on his arm. "I'm sorry. This is my fault." "No, it's your father's fault," Ryan corrected, his blue eyes hardening. "And his lapdog Krell's." "What now?" Ryan studied the street below, his mind racing. We need to go deeper. I know people in the sewers, the old community. They'll hide us while we figure out how to reach your ship." "The sewers?" Neela's voice held a note of trepidation, but no disgust. "Like when we were children?" "Not exactly." Ryan took her hand, guiding her away from the edge. "The human communities down there have grown. Evolved, you'll see." They found an access point in an abandoned building, a rusty hatch that groaned as Ryan forced it open. The familiar smell of damp concrete and stagnant water wafted up, triggering memories in both of them. "Ladies first," Ryan said with a wry smile. Neela hesitated only a moment before descending the metal ladder into darkness. Ryan followed, pulling the hatch closed above them. At the bottom, Ryan activated a small light he'd pulled from his pocket, illuminating a narrow tunnel stretching into blackness. "Stay close," he murmured, his hand finding the small of her back. The touch sent warmth through both of them, a reminder of their night together just hours before. "I'm not afraid," Neela replied, leaning slightly into his touch. "Not with you." They moved through the tunnels, Ryan navigating with the confidence of someone returning home. After nearly an hour of walking, the passage widened and distant lights became visible. "What is that?" Nyla asked. "Home," Ryan answered simply, "or what used to be." They emerged into a vast chamber that bore little resemblance to the sewers of Ryan's childhood. Strings of lights crisscrossed the ceiling, illuminating a bustling underground community. Makeshift dwellings lined the walls, constructed from scavenged materials, but showing remarkable ingenuity. Hydroponic gardens grew under artificial lights, and the sound of children's laughter echoed from somewhere deeper in the settlement. "This is incredible," Nyla breathed, taking in the scene. "I had no idea." "That was the point," a gruff voice said from behind them. They turned to find a burly human man with a gray-streaked beard aiming a makeshift weapon at them. His eyes widened when he recognized Ryan, then narrowed when he spotted Neela. "Ryan? What the hell are you doing bringing an Elysian down here?" "Hello to you too, Hector," Ryan replied calmly. "We need help. Valen's security is after us." Hector's gaze shifted between them, understanding dawning in his weathered face. "You're in trouble because of her? I'm in trouble because I chose to help her. Just like I did 15 years ago." Ryan stepped forward, placing himself slightly in front of Nyla. "She's not our enemy, Hector. She's running from them too." The older man lowered his weapon slightly. "The council will need to decide." "Then take us to them," Ryan said, "but quickly. Krell won't be far behind." Hector grunted, gesturing for them to follow. As they walked through the settlement, humans stopped to stare at the blue-skinned woman with silver hair walking among them. Some expressions were hostile, others merely curious. "They've never seen an Elysian this close," Ryan explained quietly. "At least not one who wasn't trying to evict them." "I understand their suspicion," Neela replied, holding her head high despite the stares. "In their position, I'd feel the same." Hector led them to a large circular chamber where 5 humans, 3 men and 2 women, sat at a table fashioned from an old industrial spool. The council, Ryan realized, had formalized considerably since his time in the sewers. "Ryan Thorne," one of the women said, rising from her seat. "The prodigal son returns. Eliza," Ryan greeted her with a nod. "Didn't expect to find you running things. Someone had to step up after you left." Her gaze shifted to Nyla. "And you've brought a guest." Ryan introduced Nyla, explaining their situation in concise terms. Her plan to leave Elysium, their night together, and Krell's pursuit. "So you want sanctuary," Eliza summarized, her expression unreadable. "For you and the daughter of the man who's tried to eradicate us for decades." "I am not my father," Neela stepped forward, her voice steady, "and I'm offering more than just trouble. My ship can take us all away from here. Anyone who wants to leave, start fresh somewhere beyond Valen control." A murmur ran through the council members. Eliza raised an eyebrow. "Bold offer from someone on the run." "It's not charity," Nyla replied. "It's an alliance. You help us reach my ship, and in return, I provide passage for your people." Ryan watched the exchange with a mixture of pride and anxiety. Nyla stood her ground, negotiating with the confidence of someone raised to command rooms, but with a sincerity that was all her own. "And what about Maddox?" Ryan interjected. "Valen's security has him. I won't leave without him." Eliza exchanged glances with the other council members. "We might be able to help with that too. We have people in the detention centers, humans they think are broken but who feed us information." "So we have a deal?" Nyla asked. Eliza studied them both for a long moment, her gaze lingering on the way Ryan stood protectively close to Nyla, their hands nearly touching. "We'll help you," she finally said, "but not just because of your ship or your offer. We'll help because 15 years ago, a boy from our community chose to help a little alien girl when he had every reason not to. That's who we are. That's what humans do." Ryan felt Nyla's fingers intertwine with his, a silent acknowledgement of where their story had begun, and where it was taking them now. Dawn in the underground settlement brought urgent news. A human informant in Valen Security had sent word. Maddox was scheduled for public execution in Elysium's Central Plaza at noon. A spectacle designed to lure Ryan and Nyla into the open, while sending a message to any human who dared rise above their station. "It's a trap," Hector stated flatly as the council and their guests gathered around a makeshift hollow table displaying Central Plaza's layout. "Obviously," Ryan agreed, studying the projection, "but we can't leave Maddox to die. And my ship is docked at the private port adjacent to the plaza," Nyla added, pointing to a section of the map. "Father's frozen my accounts, but the ship's biometric locks are keyed to my DNA. If we can reach it, we can still escape." Eliza leaned forward. "Our intelligence shows Krell himself will oversee the execution. He's brought in elite guards and set up security checkpoints throughout the district." "Krell's obsessive," Nyla explained. "He's been my father's enforcer for decades. He doesn't just follow orders, he takes personal pride in them." Ryan paced the perimeter of the table. So we have to rescue Maddox from a heavily guarded public execution, steal access codes to the spaceport, and reach Nyla's ship, all while the most dangerous man in Elysium is hunting us. When you put it that way, sounds impossible, Hector grumbled. Impossible? Ryan's mouth curved into a determined smile. I was a human boy who survived the sewers. She was an Elysian heir who defied her father. We've been beating impossible odds since we were children. Nyla's eyes met his across the table, a silent current of understanding passing between them. Last night, in the privacy of the small chamber they'd been given, that connection had deepened further. Their bodies had found each other in the darkness. Human warmth meeting Elysian grace, with an intensity that left them both breathless. Afterward, lying together in the quiet, they'd spoken of futures neither had dared imagine before, of stars beyond Elysium, of freedom, of building something new together. Ryan's right, Nyla said, turning to the council, and we have advantages Krell doesn't expect. Such as? Eliza asked. Me. Nyla straightened, her silver hair catching the light. Krell expects me to be hiding, running. He doesn't expect me to walk straight into Central Plaza as if I have every right to be there. That's suicide, Hector protested. It's distraction, Ryan corrected, catching Nyla's meaning immediately. While all eyes are on the Valen heir making a public appearance, a team slips in to free Maddox. Eliza nodded slowly. And while Krell's forces are scrambling to respond to that, another team secures the path to the spaceport. Exactly, Nyla confirmed. 3 teams, 3 objectives, all moving simultaneously. The plan took shape quickly. Nyla would approach from the north entrance of the plaza, drawing attention in a way only an Elysian of her status could. Ryan would lead the team to rescue Maddox, using the underground maintenance tunnels that connected to the plaza's detention facility. Eliza would command the 3rd team, securing the route to the spaceport and obtaining the necessary access codes from a Valen data terminal. As the council members dispersed to prepare, Ryan pulled Nyla into a quiet alcove away from prying eyes. This plan puts you in the most danger, he said, his voice low with concern. Krell will be watching for you specifically. Nyla placed her cool hand against his cheek. I've spent my life playing the perfect Valen heir. One last performance won't kill me. That's exactly what I'm worried about. Ryan covered her hand with his own, turning to press a kiss against her palm. If anything happens to you— It won't, she interrupted. I didn't find you after 15 years just to lose you now. Ryan pulled her closer, his arms encircling her waist. When did you become so fearless? I learned from a human boy who wasn't afraid to help a limping alien girl, she whispered, rising on her toes to brush her lips against his. The kiss deepened, carrying the weight of everything at stake. When they finally parted, Ryan rested his forehead against hers. Tonight we'll be on your ship, he promised, looking back at Elysium as it shrinks into the distance. With Maddox and anyone else who wants to come, Nyla added. A fresh start. A fresh start, Ryan echoed, the words feeling like a prayer. They rejoined the others as final preparations were underway. The humans of the sewer community had mobilized with impressive efficiency, producing weapons, communication devices, and even disguises for those heading to the surface. A young woman approached Ryan, offering him a sleek black outfit. Salvaged from Valen security uniforms, she explained, modified to fit humans. Should help you blend in near the detention facility. Ryan nodded his thanks, noting how the community had evolved from the desperate survivors of his childhood into an organized resistance. They'd built something remarkable in the shadows, a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. As noon approached, the teams gathered at different exit points. Ryan found Nyla preparing with her own group, her blue skin now partially concealed under an elegant Elysian cloak, her silver hair arranged in an intricate style befitting her status. You look like a proper Valen again, Ryan observed. For the last time, she replied with a determined gleam in her ocean eyes. They embraced briefly, aware of the eyes watching them, this unlikely pair, human and Elysian, whose connection had begun with a simple act of kindness in the sewers and now stood on the precipice of changing everything. See you on the other side, Ryan said, reluctantly stepping back. Nyla smiled, the expression transforming her face just as it had when she was a child. Count on it. As they parted ways, each leading their teams toward their objectives, Ryan felt a surge of something powerful in his chest. Not just love for Nyla, but pride in what they represented together. A human boy from the sewers and an Elysian heir, defying every boundary their world had established, proving that compassion could bridge even the widest divides. Now they just had to survive the next few hours to show Elysium what that compassion could build. Central Plaza shimmered under Elysium's midday sun, its polished surfaces reflecting light in dazzling patterns. The execution platform stood at the center, surrounded by Valen's security forces in their sleek black uniforms. Maddox knelt on the platform, hands bound behind his back, his face bruised but his eyes defiant. Jareth Krell paced before him, a tall, gaunt Elysian with pale green skin and eyes like chips of ice. His uniform bore the insignia of Valen Corporation's head of security, and the pulse rifle in his hands was pointed casually at Maddox's head. The human accomplice will be terminated at precisely noon, Krell announced to the gathered crowd, as a reminder that those who aid fugitives from justice will face the harshest penalties. From his position in the maintenance tunnel beneath the plaza, Ryan watched through a grated opening, counting security personnel and tracking their patterns. His team, 5 humans from the sewer community, all armed with salvaged weapons, waited silently behind him. Nyla should be entering the north gate now, whispered Hector, checking a small communication device. Eliza's team is in position at the data terminal. Ryan nodded, his focus absolute. Everything hinged on timing. On the far side of the plaza, a ripple of movement caught Krell's attention. The crowd parted as Neela Valen strode forward, her silver hair gleaming in the sunlight, her blue skin a stark contrast to the elegant white dress she wore. She moved with the confidence of someone born to command attention, her chin high, her gaze fixed on Krell. "Release that human," she called, her musical voice carrying across the plaza. "He's done nothing wrong." Krell's thin lips curved into a smile. "Nyla Valen, how convenient of you to deliver yourself to us." He gestured and security forces moved to surround her. "Now," Ryan whispered, and his team surged forward, emerging from hidden access points around the plaza. What happened next was chaos, precisely as planned. As security forces converged on Nyla, Ryan's team created diversions at multiple points, drawing attention away from the execution platform. Ryan himself moved with deadly efficiency, taking down 2 guards before reaching Maddox. "Took you long enough," Maddox grunted as Ryan cut his restraints. "Traffic was hell," Ryan replied, helping his friend to his feet. Across the plaza, Nyla found herself surrounded by Krell's elite guards. But instead of surrendering, she activated a small device concealed in her palm. Instantly, the plaza's environmental systems went haywire. Lights flickering, automated doors opening and closing, security barriers failing. Eliza's team got into the system, Ryan realized with grim satisfaction. "Let's move." As they fought their way toward the spaceport access corridor, Ryan kept Nyla in his peripheral vision. She was holding her own, using the confusion to evade capture, moving steadily toward their rendezvous point. Then everything went wrong. Krell, anticipating their plan, had positioned snipers on the surrounding rooftops. A stun blast caught Nyla squarely between the shoulders, sending her crumpling to the ground. Before Ryan could reach her, Krell's men had dragged her unconscious form away. "Ryan!" Maddox grabbed his arm as he changed direction. "We need to get to the ship." "Not without her," Ryan growled, wrenching free. "Wait!" a new voice called. Ryan turned to find Eliza running toward them, a data pad clutched in her hand. "We intercepted a transmission. They're taking her to the private docking bay. Her father's waiting there." Ryan's blood ran cold. "Her father?" "There's more," Eliza continued, breathless. "Maddox, the data we pulled, tell him what you found." Maddox's bruised face split into a grin, despite the chaos around them. "Krell's been embezzling from Valencorp for years. Millions in diverted funds, falsified security reports. He's been playing both sides, keeping humans down while profiting from their labor." "And you have proof?" Ryan asked, his mind racing. "Better," Maddox replied. "We broadcast it to every screen in Elysium 5 minutes ago." Understanding dawned on Ryan. "So the entire city knows that Krell's a traitor to his own kind," Eliza finished. "The Valen Patriarch isn't happy." They reached the private docking bay just as a confrontation was unfolding. Nyla, now conscious but restrained, stood between Krell and an older Elysian male with the same ocean blue eyes, her father, Thorin Valen. "You've betrayed my trust for the last time, Krell," Thorin was saying, his voice cold with fury. "Stealing from my company, lying about security protocols, and now threatening my daughter?" "Your daughter is a human sympathizer," Krell spat. "She's betrayed her species, her family." "My daughter," Thorin interrupted, "has shown me what I've been too blind to see. That my own head of security has been manipulating me for years, stoking my prejudice against humans to cover his crimes." Ryan signaled to his team to hold position as he assessed the situation. Nyla's eyes found his across the bay, a silent message passing between them. "The humans are vermin!" Krell hissed, his composure cracking. "They should remain in the sewers where they belong." "The humans," Thorin replied calmly, "have built an entire civilization beneath our feet while we persecuted them. They have shown more ingenuity, more resilience than many of my own kind. My daughter saw this truth 15 years ago, when a human boy helped her without asking for anything in return." Krell's face contorted with rage. He raised his weapon, aiming not at Thorin but at Nyla. "Then you're as much a traitor as she is." Ryan moved without thinking, launching himself across the space between them. The pulse blast meant for Nyla caught him in the shoulder, spinning him around but not stopping his momentum. He slammed into Krell with the full force of his body, sending them both crashing to the floor. What followed was brutal and swift. Ryan, fueled by 15 years of survival and the fierce need to protect what he loved, overpowered Krell despite his injury. When it was over, Krell lay unconscious and Ryan stood over him, breathing hard, his blue eyes blazing with triumph. "Ryan!" Nyla broke free from her restraints and rushed to him, her cool hands examining his wounded shoulder. "You're hurt." "I've had worse," he said, wincing as she touched a particularly tender spot. Thorin Valen approached them slowly, his expression unreadable. "So you're the human boy who helped my daughter all those years ago?" Ryan straightened, meeting the older Elysian's gaze without flinching. "I am." "And now you plan to take her away from Elysium? From her family? Her inheritance?" "With respect, sir," Ryan replied, "I'm not taking her anywhere. She's making her own choice." Thorin studied him for a long moment, then turned to his daughter. "Is this true, Nyla? You would leave everything behind for freedom?" "Not everything, Father," Nyla said softly. "I'm taking the most important lessons you taught me. About courage, about standing for what's right. I'm just applying them differently than you expected." Silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken emotions. Finally, Thorin sighed. "The ship is yours as we agreed when you came of age. And," he hesitated, then continued with visible effort, "I will begin reforms regarding human treatment in Elysium. Your actions and those of your human allies have forced me to reconsider many things." Nyla's eyes widened. "You mean it?" "I do." Thorin glanced at Ryan, then back to his daughter. "Perhaps in time you'll visit. Show me these stars you're so eager to explore." "Perhaps we will," Nyla replied, her hand finding Ryan's. As Valen's security took Krell into custody, Eliza and Maddox approached with the rest of their team. "The ship's prepped and ready," Maddox reported, "and we've got about 30 humans from the sewers who want passage off-world." "Then let's not keep them waiting," Ryan said. Aboard Nyla's ship, sleek, spacious, and more luxurious than anything Ryan had ever seen, they gathered on the bridge as the final preparations for departure were made. Through the viewports, Elysium spread below them, beautiful and flawed. "Having second thoughts?" Ryan asked as Nyla programmed their course. She turned to him, ocean eyes shining. "Not one, you?" "Only about what took us so long to get here." He pulled her close, mindful of his injured shoulder, and kissed her, a promise of all that lay ahead. As the ship lifted off, leaving Elysium's atmosphere in a blaze of light, Ryan thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment. From a chance meeting in the sewers to the stars, all because a small human boy had chosen kindness over fear, and a little alien girl had never forgotten. "Where to first?" Nyla asked, nestled against him as they watched Elysium shrink to a glittering speck behind them. Ryan smiled, the future stretching before them as vast and bright as the galaxy itself. Anywhere, everywhere, as long as we're together. And as their ship accelerated into the darkness between stars, carrying its cargo of humans and hope, Ryan knew that the greatest adventure of all wasn't escaping Elysium or exploring new worlds. It was building something new together, something that bridged the divide between their species and proved that compassion was the most powerful force in the universe. That, he thought as Nyla's lips found his once more, was what happened the day after a poor human boy helped a limping alien girl, the beginning of a story that would change worlds.